All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Chris, and this is Barn on 11970, and happy Sunday. Hopefully you guys and girls have had a great weekend. And I want to talk about, like it says in the picture, the image you see, hopefully see, the good, the bad, and the ugly of what I feel is coming. And one of the things I want to say right off the bat is you have to have an open mind if you want to see the bigger picture. Now, if you look throughout history, there have been plenty of times of peace, but there have been more times of war. So we have to base our future on researching the past so we can change the outcome of the future. That's one of the reasons why they say, if you don't research history, you're doomed to repeat it. And if you notice throughout history, time and time again, we ultimately end up in war. And one of the biggest reasons is we allow the people who, quote unquote, control us to continue to control us. And if you ever notice, the only time there have been even close times of any kind of formulation of peace, it's when the people rose up and said no more. So one of the biggest problems I see with this particular election is even people in this community, people looking for truth, people who are more aware of what's going on. I see so many people emotionally attached to this particular election that they're forgetting the logical part and they're not thinking clearly. And if you notice throughout history, some of the most evil dictators and evil rulers were the most charismatic. And they tell you everything that you want to hear. And you fall for the trap. Now, in a perfect world, that would be a beautiful thing, that somebody would say all these things and actually mean what they say. We all want that. But think of it this way. If you're in an abusive relationship, and there are many people who are, and I hope you're not, but if you notice, if you have friends or family, if you know anybody that's ever been in an extremely abusive relationship where one side abuses the other and the other refuses to leave, well, every time that person, whether it's male or female, says they're going to change, even if they don't beat you every day or they convince you that this time it's going to be different, if you choose to use the emotion, because, I mean, obviously people stay because they love one another, but love has to be mutual. And if it's not mutual, you should not allow yourself to be beaten down that way or controlled or even mentally abused. But what happens is, through inaction, based on your emotions, if you continue to stay in an abusive relationship, what happens to you? Tends to be bad. That's why it keeps getting abusive, and it can get to the point where it could be violent or end your life. Now, I understand if somebody's in that kind of relationship, they may not want to hear it. But why do you think, if you were in a relationship like that, or you knew somebody was in that relationship, why do you think that either they mention it to you or you mention it to them, that they should get out of there? It's not because you're trying to ruin their day by saying, listen, let's say you're trying to help one of your girlfriends who's in a relationship with an abusive man, or the other way around. It does work both ways. And you're trying to tell them, listen, this person's going to kill you if you don't leave. Now, does that sound like something they want to hear? Of course not, because they love the person. That's why they stay. But you're saying it not to make them mad, not to ruin their day, but to make them understand you care about them so much, you're trying to show them and see what you see. And that is why, if you're one of the people in an abusive relationship and somebody comes along and says, listen, the person you're with is going to kill you. You've tried to work on this 20 different times and they keep coming back and doing the same thing. Look at the bruises on your face. And that person's going to be very defiant and say, I don't want to hear it. Stop it. You're trying to give me bad vibes. I love this person. And if you put things in perspective, it's the same way when it comes to politics. That we fall in love with a candidate so much that they can do no wrong, and we put them on a pedestal that nobody could really match up to. And I see this so much because now And like I said the other day, remember the one I did yesterday about FEMA camps? And I said that one would be my most viewed video in the past week. That's exactly what's happening. People love the fear porn. And then people, and even though it wasn't a fear porn, it was the title that got people, even though it wasn't what they expected. So when I do my videos, I am not trying to ruin people's day by making up stuff. I'm not trying to depress people by showing the truth of a situation. I'm trying to make it like all of the people in America and around the world are in abusive relationships. And I see from the outside perspective, because I'm not emotionally attached to either candidate, I'm trying to show that they're going to be abusive even though they are the most charming. You ever notice a lot of times in an abusive relationship, the person that's the abuser, when they're around friends or family or other people, they tend to be very charming, very charismatic? I mean, obviously they must be if they can persuade a person that they've beaten or mentally abused to keep coming back. So what I'm trying to do is get people to see things that they can't see because they're in love with one of the candidates, whether it's Clinton or whether it is Trump. Now look at the Bernie Sanders crowd. Look at the fact when he, in the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, when they found out that the system was rigged and he wasn't going to win, his people in the audience, they filmed them crying. That's how emotionally attached they were. And yet, even though people know now, through proof, through WikiLeaks, that the system is rigged, Bernie Sanders still went on Hillary Clinton's bandwagon, knowing it's rigged. And how many Bernie Sanders fans followed suit? And the problem is, if you see it from the outside, if you take away the emotion, you understand that the system has been proven to be rigged. People like me and others have been trying to say this for years, where we got ignored and laughed at. And it's proven, and yet people are... I've had people that have been following me for a long time unsubscribe from me recently because they don't like to hear what I'm saying. It's like me being the best friend of somebody that's being abused, and I say, listen, you got to get out of that relationship. That person's going to kill you. And eventually they say, you know what? You're not a friend. If you were a friend, you'd shut up and leave me alone and let me live my life. And then they take you out of their equation, when all you wanted to do was keep them from being abused, because they'd always come to you crying after the fact. But they loved them. And that is why sometimes love and passion could be one of the most harmful things to a human being. Because what happens is you become blind. And what I'm seeing with Donald Trump is people are putting him on a pedestal. They're making him out to be the next Jesus, the next Savior. And all you have to do is look at the past history. Look at the fact that he himself, and I have videos showing this, have admitted that he's been friends with the Clintons for years. It's been proven that he has donated money to all politicians. He's donated money to the Clinton Foundation. Has he mentioned that in his speeches? So I understand that people want to be saved, because ultimately, people, and I know you don't want to hear this, but ultimately people are lazy. They want other people to take care of their own needs instead of taking the responsibility of doing it themselves. Now, in a corrupt system, it's not like you could just say, all right, I'm going to go live in a cave and I'm going to go hunt down, animals and eat out there and, make clothing out of bears. That's just not realistic. So you have to kind of live within the system, but you don't have to live in it at 100%. And that's why I tell people, do some of the things that I've done. I have made myself my own businesses. Some people may not like them. I don't care what they have to say. They can ridicule all they want. Making your own business means you're not relying on somebody else. And you're not making somebody else wealthy. You may struggle, and it may take a lot of work, but you can become independent in that way. I tell people all the time, anytime you get fiat currency, exchange it for things that can have real value. So if that currency ever starts to go away or becomes devalued to the point where it's not worth what it used to be, you have other things that you could trade, barter, sell. telling people, stop thinking the voting counts. This is a rigged system. George Soros's voting counting machines are rigged to make sure it gets registered in ways that were not intended by the person who placed their vote. That's why you've seen on countless occasions where they've had deceased people that happen to have voted. They rig the system. So it doesn't matter how many people vote. And I've gotten so many people mad at me about this. Why am I the enemy? Why am I the one being hated on? And that's why the video I made the other day where it shows a Malcolm X statement where it says that people start hating the oppressed and falling in love with the oppressors. And that's what people are doing to me, and that's unfair. Because if you look at my videos, I've dedicated 5 years of my life through the abuse, through the death threats, through the insults, through the ignoring, knowing that my message will barely get out there at all, to helping people see what they refuse to see. So what's some of the good? Because people say, oh, this is depressing. Well, when you're trying to tell your abusive friend to get out of an abusive relationship, you're not going to say everything's wonderful, everything's fine, just give them a hug or just give her a kiss and everything will be fine. No, you're going to say, listen, that person's beating you. That person's always putting you down. That person's going to kill you. You're making your point so they can get it, but they refuse to listen. And that's what most people are doing here. So there's the bad and the ugly. Well, what's the good? Well, if you know anything about the universe, and I've said this so many different times, that negativity can be seen as positive if you actually see it for what it is, because if somebody's poking you with a needle and you do nothing, what happens? If that person wants to continually poke you, let's say there's a machine that pokes you, and it's stabbing you in the shoulder with a needle repeatedly, and it's programmed to never stop. Well, what happens when you do nothing? It causes damage, doesn't it? And it continues to cause damage. What happens if you hold up a sign and say, this is not fair? Well, it's going to cause damage. It's going to cause more damage. What happens if you sit there and close your eyes and say, oh, this isn't really happening? Well, what's going to happen is you're going to get more damage and it's going to continue to happen. So what do? You stop it by walking away. And when you do that, the situation changes and it's no longer bad. So yes, is it bad that there's a machine that's programmed to repeatedly stab you in the shoulder and won't stop? Yes. But do you have to stay there? Of course not. It's your own choice. If you sit there and complain, if you sit there and do nothing, if you sit there and pray, if you sit there and pretend it doesn't exist, it's not stopping it. And that's what people are doing, and that's why we've been suckered in throughout history, is because instead of us taking responsibility for our own lives, we put the effort on somebody else's shoulders to take care of us. And we hope that those people are going to be good for us. And ladies and gentlemen, no president has ever been elected by saying, you know what, if you vote for me, I'm going to take all your money, I'm going to not tell you the truth, I'm going to create wars that murder people, and I'm going to make sure your life is miserable. Would you vote for that person ever? No. So what do? They tell you what they want to hear. Why do you think in an abusive relationship, when there's that obsessed feeling, and I know all about obsession because I have some of my trolls. As a matter of fact, one of them just resubscribed to me yesterday. How pathetic is that? The person supposedly doesn't like me and subscribed to my channel yet again yesterday. I mean, you want to talk about stalking and psychotic. But when you're in a relationship, you'll have that abusive person saying, oh, I'm going to change. This time it's different. I really do love you. I understand what I've been doing wrong. They're not going to say, listen, if you take me back, I'm going to beat the living crap out of you again, or I'm going to put you down even harder, because you wouldn't be dumb enough to take them back then. And you ever notice in most relationships, eventually it gets so abusive where either one dies, or one finally says, that's it, I can't take anymore. But at that point, that person is so beaten down, the damage is permanent. The idea is to get out of a situation before it gets to that point. And that's what I see what's coming. Do I want it to be that way? Of course not. I'm not one of those people. The people that know me in real life, I'm a DJ, I'm a massage therapist. As a massage therapist for 20 years, my job is to help people feel better and improve their life through their health, through different types of massage. I do pinpoint therapy massage, which is trigger point work that works muscles to help release tension and stress by loosening the muscles around the ligaments and the bone. Okay, my massage business is all about healing. Okay, my karaoke business is all about me playing music and getting people to sing and getting them involved by applauding, clapping, paying attention, and having a great time. So my whole life and my whole career is all about helping other people. It's always been that way. And it's my own businesses. I don't work for anybody else. Nobody tells me when to work, when not to work. It's more independent. I don't own any credit cards because I don't want to contribute to a corrupt system. Yes, I have to make fiat currency. Do I like it? No, I have no choice because, you know what, last time I checked, I can't take a box of rocks and bring it to a grocery store and say, hi, I'd like to exchange this for a loaf of bread. It doesn't work that way. So we have to go within the means of the system. But it doesn't mean you have to go all in and just say, oh, well, I'll pretend nothing's going on. Or, oh, this time it'll be different. When it comes to politicians, Hillary is utterly useless. She's the crack addict that will steal from you every moment. You know she's a criminal. She's been in and out of jail, that type of relationship. You know they're bad. Donald Trump, to me, is the charismatic, wealthy person that comes along driving in a Lamborghini, going to pick up women, and says, you know what, I'll give you everything that you want. And ends up totally doing things behind your back, lying to you. If you think Donald Trump is the savior, then you really are desperate for a savior. Because I hate to break it to you, ladies and gentlemen, he's no Jesus Christ. Okay? He is a billionaire in very corrupt ways that he's gotten there. And the problem is people are so wanting a savior, they are willing to ignore the truth. And they'll hate on people like me when my intention is to help you. Just like your friends will dismiss you if you tell them how much an abusive relationship is going to hurt them or kill them. Eventually they'll pick the person that abuses them over the friends who want to save them. And they'll view them as the enemy. Because why? They can't take it out on the abuser, but they can take it out on the good people. I'm an easy target. Because I am not out to hurt you. I have emotions and feelings because I care. So I'm an easy target. So if you want to feel better by attacking me, the one person that's trying to help you, like in an abusive relationship, if I'm a friend trying to teach people, a friend that's in a couple and it's in a bad relationship, you know what? If that person gets beaten or murdered, yeah, I might feel bad, but it doesn't affect me. So I'm doing this knowing that no matter what the outcome is, it's not going to affect me. You know, I made a video the other day about the FEMA camps. Do they exist? Of course they do. Are they going to take people with guns and drag them in? No. It's going to be a place for people who did not prepare for anything and have no place else to go. People are going to be lined up, raising their hands, saying, please pick me to go into your FEMA camp. I'll do whatever it takes to get in there because I don't want to starve to death. Just imagine something like The Walking Dead, where they have the town Alexandria, and many people have watched The Walking Dead. The town of Alexandria is where the main characters of The Walking Dead are now residing, and it's protected from the outside world. Now just imagine if you are roaming around and there's zombies trying to kill you all over the place. There's no real food and shelter. There are people trying to rob you every 5 seconds. There's death around every corner. You can't even sleep. And then all of a sudden you come to the walls of that city called Alexandria. You don't think you'd do anything that they tell you to get in there to be safe? That's what FEMA camps will be. That is for when there's any situation. It doesn't have to be some nuclear war. There will never be a nuclear war. So stop with that fear porn. There is no way that they will ever destroy the very people who make the people rich. They use us as labor. We do all the work so they can do all the play. They're wealthy because they steal from us. If we're no longer there, they can't do that. So stop with the fear porn. Those are the videos like Alex Jones and all those others will get hundreds of thousands of views. And that's why I knew when I made the video title the way I did, and I hate doing that because I don't like the clickbait stuff. I think it's pathetic. But I wanted to prove a point that was my most viewed video this week. Because that's what people want. They don't want to put in the effort. They don't want to really research. All they want to do is nitpick and criticize. No matter what I do, there's always somebody telling me I'm not doing enough. And meanwhile, when you go to their profile, they do nothing. which proves that most people want others to do it for them. And I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to help, but I'm not going to sugarcoat, and I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. If you're in an abusive relationship or one person is abusing you, I'm not going to sit there and tell you everything's fine. Everything's going to be okay. I'm going to tell you, get the hell out of there before that person kills you. The problem is you're so in love and infatuated with that person that you don't want to listen until it's either too late or you've had enough. And by the time you've had enough, you're broken. So if you want to believe either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton is going to be the savior that you are looking for, I am sorry to break the news to you, but you will be sadly mistaken. And if I am wrong, I will be proud to make a video saying I was wrong. Because then that means things are good. You think I'm going to have a problem with that? There's no pride that I need to swallow. So the good part is, with any system, for a system to start anew, you have to have an ending. Like a famous song once said, every new beginning comes from somebody's beginning's end. Someone's beginning's end. So in other words, a system has to crumble before a new one can rise. There's a reason why there's natural forest fires in the world. It's because when it gets to the point where a forest is so crowded, it starts smothering the trees to the point where they could start potentially dying. A natural fire kills a lot of the dead trees. It creates more fertilization on the ground. It becomes more fertilized, and new trees grow from it. So, yes, is a fire bad? You could look at it that way, but the purpose of it is to get rid of the dead wood, so this way you could grow a new forest and a healthier forest. So, without some destruction, you cannot have construction. If you have an old building, you can't build a building right on top of it. You have to break down that building. You have to destroy it. Destruction is a part of life, but people are so afraid of it because they only see the negative side of it. That's why I'm not living in fear, even if there are going to be these wars that they're talking about. There'll be wars. There always are. There are right now as we speak, there are wars. They just don't call them wars. When one troop goes into another person's land and tries to dictate what they do and murders people in the process, that is war. It's just not the war that they want to say, because a lot of times people don't want to fight back because maybe they just can't. We seem to have all these problems in this world, but yet, if you look at videos from some of the people on YouTube with their privileges and about the fact they're fighting over bathrooms and they're talking about how, I can't use my free speech, instead of worrying about the fact that people are being murdered around the world by the very leaders we want to keep putting into office. People don't want to understand this, and then when people come along and try and point it out, we're buzzkills and we're ignored. And then when the bad things happen that a few people try and wake you up from, you all sit there dumbfounded and say, whoa, where'd this come from? So I understand people want a utopia. If you want a utopia, the people have to make a utopia. And that's why I showed an image a couple of days, about a week and a half ago, about how your votes don't count. And it shows a balancing beam where all of the people holding the signs were holding down one end of the balancing beam, or the board, whatever, and it's dangling over a cliff. And on the edge of the cliff, as the board extends out, is the politician. And they're holding him up. In other words, they're supporting him. What happens if they walk off that board and walk away? Well, he falls. So the point is, ladies and gentlemen, if you want true change, you got to make change yourself. And you can't do it violently, because violence begets violence. You can't fight fire with fire. But you can walk away. And until people understand that, you're never going to change it. You're going to keep repeating the cycle. That's why, like they say, if you don't research history, you're doomed to repeat it. So every 4 years, people think, this time the votes will count. Maybe if we get more people in the corrupt system, that'll change the system, that'll change the balance. If that's what you want to think, don't be disappointed that about 2 or 3 years into either one of their presidencies, all of a sudden, the crap has hit the fan even worse. It's not going to be all of a sudden they become president and they go, ha ha ha, I fooled you, now I'm going to take over the world. No, they do it little by little. Remember Obama, ladies and gentlemen? Remember how he came out of nowhere? Remember how all of a sudden people voted him in because of the change, and how he was going to make a more open government, and how he was going to shut down Guantanamo Bay, and how he was going to reduce all the different wars that are going on? How'd that work out? Did he do it the first day he became president? No. It takes time, because if you do things too quickly, even the person with the head in the deepest in the sand can realize what's going on. So Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, when they first get in, everybody's going to cheer, especially if Trump becomes president, which I don't think he will, because it's a rigged system and they're not going to have somebody in like that. Or he could be putting on a total show so he can get your vote, because like I said in my video yesterday, when Mike Maloney said when the middle class loses their economic stability, they tend to vote for very charismatic people who will tell you everything that you want to hear. And those people end up being people like Mao and Napoleon and Hitler and dictators that end up taking over. They have to be charismatic, because if they told you they wanted to kill you or they wanted to steal from you, well, they wouldn't get many people's attentions, would they? That's why in a drug dealer, an abusive relationship, even if you kick them out because you've had enough at that time, they'll come back and say, listen, I've changed and I love you and I'm sorry and I'll never do it again. They're not going to sit there like a drug addict. Let's say a drug addict was stealing from his mother. He was living with his parents because he was 17 years old. And he's addicted to crack. And he robs from his mother all the time. Now, of course, his mother loves his son. But just imagine if she kicks him out eventually. He's like, listen, I can't deal with this anymore. Get out. And then he comes back crying and say, Mommy, I love you, and I swear I'll never do it again, and I've learned my lesson. Please just give me a chance. Of course she's going to feel bad. Why? Because she loves him. You don't want to turn it away. And you think, oh, well, maybe this time they will change. Maybe this time it will be different. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, for anything good to happen, you have to first eliminate the bad. So there's going to be, when you have a chalkboard and it's full of writing, if you want to write more on it, sometimes you have to clear the board. You can't write over what's already there, because then it'll be a bunch of garbled mess and you can't see it. So you have to wipe it clean. Wipe the slate clean. We have a corrupt government using an old corrupt system. We have to wipe it clean for anything new to come along. If you want to think some savior is going to come and fix a corrupt system, you are not going to get it. And you can hate me all you want. You can ignore me all you want. I'm trying to help, because I'm not emotionally involved with either one. And in the beginning, when I first heard Trump, I came very close, because he's very convincing. And then I started looking at some of the things he said. Then I remember some of the things he's done. And if you want to believe he's the next Jesus Christ, God bless you. So if you want real change, get off your ass and change it. You don't like bad government? Stop putting anyone into a corrupt system and thinking they're going to change it. You are your own universe. You can control whatever you want. And that's why I'm not worried at all, because I've been prepared for any situation and will not have to worry. Are you ready? Because if we do nothing, bad things are going to happen. If you are in an abusive relationship and you do nothing, and that person continues to be abused, or the abuser, and you allow them to, eventually they'll beat you to death. That sounds scary, doesn't it? Well, what's dumb is a person would refuse to think of that as a possibility and stay to allow that possibility to potentially happen. I was in a very controlling relationship years back when I was a different type of guy, and there was a girl that never physically abused me, but she was very mentally abusive. She was definitely somebody that I kept going back to. I've been in that situation, and I remember the first time when my friends noticed it. It's like, why do you keep putting up with this girl? And I could only respond by saying, oh, it's because I love her. And I used to get so mad when I heard people say things like that. And then I realized, wait a minute. I'm in a very kind of similar situation that I've talked to many friends about. And I ended up walking away. And the good thing is it wasn't my choice. They left me. But I never took her back again. Kind of helped that she had my house robbed. But if I would have listened a long time ago, it probably would have never happened that way. But then again, because my house got robbed, and I kept receipts for everything, I ended up being able to buy my own karaoke business from it. So again, through an ugly, bad situation, good things can happen. You just got to stop thinking so negatively. I'm pointing out the obvious. The obvious is negative. We're mostly poor people. Our freedoms are being reduced more and more. There are plenty of people dying. There are plenty of people killing. I'm not talking about made-up stuff. It's depressing and it's negative because that's what it is. What the problem is nobody wants to change it. They don't want to hear it. And that doesn't fix anything. I'm sorry that I have to be the voice of reason that you don't want to hear. We, the people, are the abused. Whoever is going to be president is not in control. It's the people who finance them. This has been proven. And Wolf Snacks says, what am I watching? You're watching a person talk about things that most people don't want to hear. If you can't handle that, or if you're one of those people that just comes here because you make a fake profile, then it shows that you're not a nice person. And if you are, then watch my videos and you'll know. So hopefully you got your 15 minutes of fame hearing your name being called. Congratulations on your achievement. Okay, so I'm going to end the video here. Not many people are going to listen to it. Very few people are going to share it because it's not what people want to hear. If you want to hear that Trump is going to be the savior of all, go to plenty of channels who will pander to you, who will get all the views that they want because they're telling you what you want to hear. Just like if your friend said, oh, that person that's abusing you, oh, you know, they're a great girl, they're a great guy. Yeah, you should stay with them, even though they're hurting you and abusing you and lying from you and stealing from you. Oh, your son or your daughter who's a drug addict who steals from you all the time, you should definitely take them back. I'm sure they've meant it when they said they'd change, because even if they meant it, they're so addicted to it, they can't change until they hit rock bottom or they die. You ever notice that? And I lived with an alcoholic who died from their alcoholism. It's one of the reasons why I don't drink. I haven't had a drink in 2 or 3 years at this point. So if you want people to improve life, you have to make the effort. You have to become more independent. Or you could choose to do nothing. So I'm going to end this video now. It'll upload. You could watch the whole thing. If you want to share it, please do. Obviously, YouTube is going to make videos like this really difficult to find. So I can't do it without you. So all I ask for is those who care, those who appreciate what I'm trying to do, to post it on their social networks. Because there's a reason why my videos will never get popular and why I'm abused so much. It's because I'm speaking the truth that they don't want people to hear. You're in an abusive relationship and you are putting all of your trust in the abuser that this time it'll be different. And if Wolf Snack, if you love drinking, that's great. I just hope you're not stupid enough to drive while you do it. So if you want to brag that you love drinking, congratulations. Just do it in your home so you can kill yourself and destroy your own liver. I hope you're not dumb enough to drive and hurt other people, because that's not funny. So anyway, on the good note, things will get better for those who open their eyes. You once were blind, but now you see. When you really open your eyes, you will understand what that saying really means. Good things will come for those who are prepared, because if you look throughout any tragedy, throughout history, any world event. I mean, even if you believe in the flood of Noah's Ark, we're still here, so there were always people that survive. But the ones that were laughing at Noah as he built his boat were the ones wishing they had a boat to climb onto as they were taking their last breath before they plummeted underground. So be smarter than that. If you want to pretend nothing's going on, that's on you. I hope you live alone so you don't drag down the rest of your loved ones and family with you. Because I'm telling you now, Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton are not the answer. Because in a corrupt system that is based on people with money that control laws, both putting them out there and keeping them from ever getting out there, if you think that a president can make change, you do not get it. I don't care how awake you say you are. So, if you want to think your vote counts, go vote, make yourself feel better. If you want to blame somebody like me because the person that you wanted didn't get into the presidency, that's fine. Because if you think my influence of 300 to 400 people is going to change the outcome of a vote, even though I've repeatedly explained to people how votes don't count, you're not paying attention. And I'm going to continue to talk about this. And the people who listen are the ones that get it. Don't hate the messenger. Because I'm not the one that made 110 million people go on welfare. I'm not the one that sends your kids off to war. I'm not the one that lies to you all the time for my own political and financial gain. I'm not creating debt so you'll never be able to get out of it. I'm not telling you what you want to hear and doing what you don't want to have happen behind your back. But please, hate people like me who are trying to help you before it's too late. Because it's bad and you don't want to hear it. Good luck with that. So anyway, for those that are here for the right reason and appreciate the things I do, if you want to give it a thumbs up, if you want to share it, it's only going to help. If you want to thumb it down because that's you get off on saying, here, I'm going to hurt Chris by thumbing down his video, congratulations on your achievement. I'm sure I will not be able to go on after that. For the rest of you, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great sleep. I hope your friends continually think that Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton are the answer. And in 2 or 3 years, I'll be more than happy to say I told you so. Don't want to, but I'm going to be sitting back as an observer and seeing what's going on. Because there is a thing called the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. And last time I checked, many of the people don't have it. So good luck thinking you're going to change everything by voting into a corrupt system. And I'm the crazy one. Go figure. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, to have your trolls spayed or neutered.